Welcome to another exciting episode of the Gain Momentum podcast. I'm here with Adam Deflorian, founder and CEO of AZDS Interactive Group. Adam, you are the first Adam on this podcast that we've had. We've made it thus far without somebody infringing on my own ego.
Such an honor to be the first Adam with Adam on the podcast. I love it.
Yeah. So hopefully our last names are distinguished enough between Deflorian and Mogolonsky. They have some similarities, but not too many.
Yeah,
So AZDS, could you start off with the elevator pitch on the company and everything that you do?
absolutely. Well, Adam, thanks again for having me. I really appreciate it. Excited to share more about what we're working on here at AZDS and how I got started. I founded the company about 20 years ago, really with a focus on luxury hospitality and innovation within luxury hospitality, trying to understand why it felt that the travel and tourism business online, right, was so far behind the rest of online e-commerce and industry, right? And that's when things were really starting to move, right? eBay was kind of becoming a big thing, obviously, with PayPal, Amazon, of course. And it was just beginning, right? Things were really starting to pick up in terms of, how people shopped online. And it felt like there was this big area of opportunity with travel because it's so inspirational, right? It photographs well. That's one for sure. Video, it's immersive. It's something that really is an emotional decision as well, right? There's this emotional aspect when you're booking travel, and it's so vast, and of course, it's global. And so that's really what I wanted to do, was be able to create websites at the time. That was our first line of business, that could increase bookings for hospitality for hotels. And with that, right, we started doing all of the other services at AZDS. So at the time, right, and still, but the core service set is the inspiration, right? So digital marketing services, the own channels like search engine optimization for Google. And back then we were focused on Yahoo, of course, as well. And working on figuring out how do we bring more visibility to certain hotels. And we kind of focused on the upper end of the market. And at the time too, right, most of the general managers we were speaking to, they were very adamant that the hotels were not really to be, especially luxury, to be booked online, but rather that they were, phones were ringing off the hook, travel advisors were filling up the hotels. And I heard a lot of no's, right? A lot of hoteliers that said, thank you, but no thank you. We don't need it, right? Meanwhile, right, the Expedias of the world, the booking.com are building up more and more market share, right? And they're generating at a very high cost of sale because of the high commission that they charge, right? They're eating away at the hotel margins. And with that, right, we started picking up a lot more business because the hoteliers had a bit of a, change in approach where they realized, look, if this many people are using the online travel agencies to book, and it's beginning to move from, a negligible part of their business to 20+% of their business at a 20% cost of sale, or at 15, 20, even 22 at the time percent cost of sale, we better invest in our direct business channels. And that's how AZDS really started growing.
Right. And there's so many different aspects to this to pull apart, but of course, the drum right now for particularly luxury, or let's go a little bit broader to experiential properties, is the book direct. And then above that is generating the awareness to drive overall demand, which is another whole issue. The whole idea of, I guess, the separation between capturing that demand via the book channel and then creating your own demand via being an aspirational product. And what I'm gathering from what you're saying is, of course, you have the website, which can get everyone once they've landed, but you also have a lot of services and intelligence on what's going to get people to the website in the first place.
That's exactly right. And I think that what we started doing, right, is we we really believe, and this is what I think is one of our biggest competitive advantages in the space today. We really believe that digital marketing from when it started back, when we started doing it 20 years ago to the last couple of years, it's become a completely commoditized business, right? Everybody's buying from the same DSPs, whether it's Trade Desk, Google, et cetera, right? Everybody's buying Google Ads. Everybody's buying the same ad space. And what truly differentiates a successful campaign of getting awareness versus not is the audience that you're targeting, right? Who we're actually hitting, right? And so everybody sells, oh, we have a luxury traveler audience or we have a luxury consumer audience. That's what everybody's trying to sell, right? The difference is at AZDS is that what we've built is our own luxury traveler network based on booking data that we create. So as I had mentioned, started the company focused on websites and digital marketing solutions and really didn't understand why the booking experience was so fractured, right? So when you go to Amazon or you go to the Nordstrom website, right, there are product pages and you look at the product, and if you are interested in buying it, you add it to a shopping cart or a basket, and that basket is always present, right? And then you check out. But you don't have like product pages. And then once you read about them, you can't do anything with them. You have to go somewhere else to go buy it, right? That just doesn't make sense. It's like, and that's how the hospitality industry and the travel industry has operated for decades, right? Which is you have like these pages of rooms, which are products in essence, or spa treatments, or, restaurants or activities. And then we say to the guest, no, I'm glad you looked at all of it, but now go over here, enter your dates, and we'll show you what's actually available, right? And, a savvy traveler shops different dates and tries to find the best price and then is looking for when certain activities are available. But we make it really, really hard to buy. So in 2015, we became certified by Sabre at the time, as well as Trust before that, actually, TCS before Sabre acquired, to build custom booking technology where we could actually integrate the shopping cart right onto the website. And that's what's called RevRaise. And today it powers over 750 global hotels, and we process over $4.5 billion worth of transactions through it every single year. We are partners and we have deep partnership roots with all of the, PMS and CRS organizations, whether it now be Avon with Synexus, Oracle on the Opera side, Amadeus, et cetera, because at the end of the day, we leverage what they have, right? And it's a win-win-win. It's a win for us. It's a win, more importantly, for the hotelier, or most importantly for the hotelier. And it's a win for the CRS and PMS organizations because they make money based on how many bookings, right? They're getting a per booking fee. And the more bookings they get, the more money they're making. So it's really, everybody is winning in this kind of situation. And then what we do is we actually build audience data based on shopping behavior. So we fully GDPR compliant, CCPA compliant based on our data practices and how we do our data protection. But we anonymize all the data. We have incredible volume of shopping data, right? Behavioral shopping data. And we're able to create audiences. To go back to your question, I like to say it's almost sniper level versus just spraying, right? Because we are selling as part of our services when it comes to digital marketing, people who are actually shopping for luxury hotels, right, on the certain date ranges or the certain regions or the global travel network. And we're able to actually put the right ads in front of the right customers. And that's what differentiates how we operate from everybody else, is we have that incredibly vast booking data data lake that we use to create audiences with. And those audiences are what we say is our secret sauce, because we've spent so much time engineering them, creating the right types of audiences to increase the average conversion by about 30%. So that's really how we operate in a very, I would say, like I said, commoditized space when it comes to digital marketing, but that's how we differentiate ourselves and make ourselves perform a lot better.
Right.
So
So just to clarify and edify at the same time what you're saying, um, because you've developed enough granular and attributable tracking within your technologies, the booking engine and websites, you can form enough intelligence about the buyer personas, either geographic, time of year, experiences they're going after. For there, you can actually go back to the DSP, the demand side platform, and give very bespoke upper funnel feeding on to target additional lookalike audiences to generate more demand and have that again be flow throughable to the direct channel instead of going off to an OTA where so much is lost in the commissions.
100%. You nailed it. And I think it's funny too, right? Because what we're doing for our direct customers is what the OTAs have done for years and is what made them so successful, right? They are aggregating an immense amount of data around travelers and what they're shopping for in order to make sure that they're hitting those travelers at the right time in the right place. And we're doing the same thing. We're just equalizing and making it a fair playing ground, right? Because that's now something that the direct, hotel companies are actually able to leverage as well.
Yeah, and you got your start and you continue to be a leader in the luxury hospitality space, which right now it's April 2026, and this category is on fire. So much so, so much so that there's talks now about splitting luxury from ultra luxury in order to offer some more guidance about making that distinction, whether that's key count or ADR, everything else that we could do to qualify that split. So you yourself are incredibly close to the information about this space, luxury and ultra luxury, because of the fact that you're working with these hotel brands. You're seeing the nitty gritty behind the scenes about how things are moving day in, day out. And you're also figuring out the segments that are going to drive direct demand for the luxury consumer that is less price elastic and also geography elastic in terms of saying, well, this place is incredible and it's halfway across the world. So what? We're going to get there. Fuel crisis or not, right?
Fuel crisis or not,
Yeah.
I was shopping um, just out of straight curiosity because I'm going to be in Europe in June, and business class tickets out of Denver, where I'm based right now, to Munich, Frankfurt, Paris, Rome are $15,000 a seat. And you look at the seat map and it's full. Like when you pull up the seat, people are, to your point, they're paying it, right? And it's so interesting because if you even separated, to your point, luxury and ultra luxury is on fire even more than luxury is on fire. Luxury is on fire too, but ultra luxury is even, and our partners are the, Amans of the world, Oetker Collection, Montage International, Roccaforte Hotels, all the ultra luxury groups in that space. And we're seeing really, really strong demand. And it almost appears as if, from a rate sensitivity perspective, it's almost they can charge where they want. Like it's gotten to the point now where it feels like the rate sensitivity, it's just not there in that segment. It's people will pay it. And to your point, they're going to get there on their $15,000 a seat Polaris seat, and then they're paying, 4,000 euros a night. I mean, I've been with our data and insights too. I like to just look at sort of what's trending, right? And I'm looking across the board at, Sardinia this summer and our partners there, and looking at Sicily and looking at all the top Mediterranean destinations. And I'm seeing very substantial rates. I'm seeing 4,000 plus euros per night before fees, before anything else, as the standard in the ultra luxury. So, I mean, for a for a 4-night stay, that's a 16,000 euro stay for a single guest room, and then everything else that comes along with it. So, I mean, it's yeah.
Well, it's the everything else that comes along with it that I'd like to pull a string on, because we could talk about the reasons for ultra luxury being on fire and luxury on fire. That's a 3-hour podcast, a 300-page book, etc. But to pull on the string about the everything else, this is the ancillaries, and really, I always view the ancillaries in the luxury space or the experiential hospitality space as the reason why you visit. You're not just visiting for a room, you're visiting for that exceptional restaurant, being taken care of for that incredible pool experience, the spa or wellness center, or, access to a yachting experience if we're talking about Sicily or Amalfi, etc. So imagine your surprise when you book a room and then, the spa is booked or the golf course doesn't have the rounds that accommodate you, etc. So how does AZDS help resolve that problem of really completing somebody's stay, either during the booking phase with packaging or add-ons, or even to the pre-arrival point of view in terms of people returning to the website to book more?
Yeah, great question. And you're 100% right. And it's not even just from a guest experience perspective, which is of course the most important, but it's also from a reservation staffing perspective, right? For people picking up the phone, having to find out, is that tea time available? Is that experience available that somebody wanted to be able to do before they actually book the room? So our core product, RevRaise, or one of our core product, which is RevRaise Book, does offer ancillary booking. So you can go in there and with a room, you can add golf, you can add spa, you can add dining. Through a variety of different service providers to your stay, but you do have to anchor it with a room first. And that's about to change for us. So we have a super exciting announcement. Actually, we haven't even announced that it's coming yet. We're going to be announcing that it's coming in May, and we're launching the last week of June. It's a brand new platform, AI first platform called RevRaise X, which is going to be our next generation booking tool. And it's not just a sort of some additional lipstick or some a new GUI or a new UI that we've created on top of RevRaise. You would never know that it's the same product. It's completely built from scratch, purpose built, designed to solve a couple of different things. Right. The first is what you just mentioned. So this solution allows you to book fully integrated for launch with CRS and PMS partners. Our launch partners are Avance and Nexus, as well as Oracle's OHIP connectivity for Opera Direct as an option. We have integration with Book for Time for spa, integration with 7 Rooms for dining, and Lightspeed for golf, right into the tee sheet. Now, what you're able to do with this, right, is a guest could actually just book a spa treatment through the platform. They don't have to book a room, right? Fully integrated Book for Time custom solution. They could book just a dining reservation, or they could start with, to your point, they want to make sure they secure the 3 tee times for their super important golf trip that they're going on. They want to make sure that the tee times are available on the 3 days that they plan to visit. They can go in and open RevRaise X, add the 3 tee times to their basket, and then book the room. So then those are held. Then they go, I want to book a room. You can add the room. Then you might want to add spa treatments for your wife, or you might want to add dining reservations. And then you can check out and get one beautiful email that has the full itinerary. You can interact with the solution both through natural language, because we are built and integrated into a AI orchestration tool that allows you to be able to interact with it both through chat, but also with the GUI. So we're in this the way I look at it is we're in this very sort of intermediary phase of AI, right? Where not everybody wants to use, ChatGPT or Claude or their preferred LLM by just typing, right? Which is the normal utilization. You just type in, I want to book a room, or what's the best room for a family of 4, or, and with RevRaise X, you can do that. So you can interact with it the same way as you interact with, your ChatGPT assistant or your Claude assistant. But you can also click. So when you open up the new solution, you can, we have buttons, right? Book a room, book golf, book a table, book a spa treatment. And when you click on that, you can fully interact with it with your mouse too. So instead of just typing, you can actually interact with it in a GUI form, or like a true UI form. But on the back end, all it's doing is prompting. So it actually, even if you're clicking, it's AI first. We're telling the assistant to go check availability for these dates. And it's funny because if you scroll up in the solution, and I'll have to give you a sneak peek another time of it, when you are scrolling up, you can actually see the commands because it's just a chat screen, right? So as you're scrolling up, it's giving it commands. So even if you're clicking and you're like, I'm not using AI, I'm not typing anything, I'm not typing sentences, the solution actually it's just prompting it on what to do. And it's pretty darn neat. We found this space too, because our belief, right, is that ChatGPT today, or Claude, or your preferred AI assistant, is pretty good at planning itineraries, but not booking them, right? And the same with Mind Trip and many other great solutions out there. They're all awesome, but they're more research-based tools. I mean, they don't have inventory directly integrated into the platform. That's going to be the biggest thing when it comes to travel, right? Is inventory and direct inventory into not just the rooms, of course, but like I said, spa, activity systems, golf, all of those things. And so the space that we see we're filling temporarily, right, is people are still going to come to the website to really get the full understanding of the property, what it has to offer, look at pictures, look at videos. But then they're starting to get into a more sort of natural AI utilization. And that's where you're going to have savvier customers that are going to start using and interacting with RevRaise similar to the example I gave, where somebody might type in, what's the best room for a family of four? What activities should I book for my 8-year-old and 6-year-old? What are your signature massage treatments or your more locally curated spa treatments? You might ask, what's the best time of day for a 2-hour sailing expedition or whatever, right? So and then the more we learn about that guest, the more, to your point earlier, right, we can actually personalize the entire buying experience based on what we know about that guest. So, if the customer just told the AI assistant that they have a 6-year-old and an 8-year-old, well, then the suggestions and how the overall vacation package gets presented should be very different than if I asked, I'm a couple coming from my 30th wedding anniversary. It should look very different, right? In terms of what I'm actually doing. And the more information that the customer or the guest is volunteering, the more personalized, the better I can actually package and sell. And my conversion rate on those ancillaries is then to be a lot higher because it's like, instead of selling, the example I share with hoteliers all the time is, if you are, let's say walking down the street, right, and it begins to rain, right, then it seems very reasonable and high likelihood that if you sell me an umbrella, I'll pay $30, $50 for an umbrella. It's a useful thing if I'm walking to a meeting and it starts dumping rain. Alternatively, if you come and you're walking down the street and it starts dumping rain and somebody's like, would you like this MacBook Pro? Your conversion rate is probably going to be pretty low, because why would I at that moment in time want to buy a MacBook Pro, right? And that's the way that I think we've been sort of missing the mark, so to speak, in hospitality for so long, is we present these like gigantic lists of things that people can experience. And we're like, here's this big menu, right? Much larger than a restaurant menu, much larger. Here's all of these different things. And what's actually relevant for me is a small, subset of that. And what's relevant for you is a small subset of that. And that goes back, people call that AI. That's not AI, that's personalization. We just haven't been able to do it effectively or well in hospitality ever. I mean, everybody will tell you, right, that, we should with the correct CRM and or good CDP tools, but we don't. We struggle with personalization, right? And so that's the approach.
I mean, we've done the personalization not at scale, particularly at the luxury end, simply by throwing more bodies at it.
Oh, yeah.
Team members, hosts, associates, people to when people come up and say, well, what spa treatment would you recommend? And then people have studied the 6-page spa menu to actually know and to recommend something. But this is finally at scale, where there still are so many luxury places where the spa menu, when you drill down, it's just a PDF that's uploaded onto the website, instead of it being something that's in XML or something else that then can be jumbled up and interpreted by some sort of mapping schema to make it accessible by AI to thereby deliver that personalization. And what I'm getting at, you mentioned earlier the technologies, the piping behind the glue from various inventory systems. 7 rooms for dining room, golf, POS, and and then I guess for spa you're using Book for Time, and essentially all those have their own GUIs for booking, and but the problem has always been getting a person into an individual flow, a full continuous flow, to really make it that Amazon or Nordstrom experience where it can be that add to cart, and it doesn't matter whether you're buying a spa experience or golf or any other time-based inventory, but it's there, and it makes it for a more pleasurable experience. And then adding that additional layer of prompting to then curate these long menus, everything that's on available into that personal experience. I mean, that's been the holy grail for 20 years. Just we've solved it by throwing bodies at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And I can tell you it's funny because like even at some of the best, I'm not going to name any partners that do this, right? But because I stay at many of my great partners all the time, and I can't tell you how many times I show up to the front desk, right? And that front desk agent, in theory, would have the CRM screen up, right? Because that's what they're supposed. That's why they're supposed to have that tool, right, to know whether I've stayed there before. And I've stayed there 9 times, and they're like, "Oh, is this your first visit?"
Oh,
Well,
oh,
and you
yeah.
get that and you just feel bad. You're like, it happens more often than not. And it's because of the discrete systems. It's because of the lack of connectivity there. And another thing, like on to that point on the digital buying experience, is RevRaise X is also the first of its kind where if I book a room, let's say, right? So I come to and by the way, we've created these flows. They're frictionless. So the one thing that I'll say, right, is, um, you throw too much at somebody and then they don't buy anything, right? So the last thing I want to do is lose a room booking for a customer or for a hotel because it was too complicated and I was throwing them spa and dining and other things at it, right? That's the last thing I want to do. So if you just come to book a room, it's as easy as possible. We've spent so much time. Our chief experience officer, Hills, does an incredible job from a UI perspective, his team, of just dialing it, making it so simple, testing and ensuring that it's, the ideal flow. And what's interesting about that, right, is that if you book a room and then you leave the website, when you come back to the website and you reopen the booking engine, it's going to know you had the room unless you're using an incognito browser or you're not in a signed in state, right? There's versions where that won't work, but for the most part, most people's it will, right? You come back and we aren't going to try to sell you another room. You have a room. We know that, right? We're going to try to sell you spa and dining. Would you like to add a reservation for dining to your itinerary? Would you like to add a spa treatment to your itinerary, et cetera? So we've really, I think, perfected, so to speak, as best as we possibly can, that flow where you come back to the website and we're not starting from square one. You're actually adding on to your existing stay.
Somebody comes back to your website and they may have looked at dining or they may have looked at spa. Is it at a point right now where you can recognize that somebody has already bought a room and now they're ready to buy ancillaries, but can you go down to the next level of already curating the ancillary experience to say, listen, we've identified that you're most likely in the foodie segment, and therefore we're going to hit you with some restaurant curated ancillary offers versus somebody who's a wellness guru or something like that. Can you drill down that far?
Yeah. Yeah, we can drill down that far, and we can even drill down similar to what you just mentioned. On the sales side, we curate questions within the AI assistant so that if, for example, you have told it, right, that you have a 6 and an 8-year-old, what's the best room for a family of 4? It shows the suites, let's say that the 1 and 2 bedroom suites, right? Then it gives 3 pre-created questions, and those questions in that example would be something like, can I add a rollaway bed to the 1 bedroom suite? Do you have pull-out sofas? And then if you're shopping, then let's say it actually prompts intelligently the right questions that somebody might be asking. They can ask whatever they want. They can type in whatever they want, but we're giving them sort of, further prompted questions that they might be, next to ask, kind of like a reservations agent would be trained to do. And then let's say you get to dining sections, and the prompted questions might be, does your restaurant have high chairs? Is there outdoor and indoor dining options, right? Like, so the questions are always relevant to what the person is searching for. And it's pretty darn good. The models that we are integrated with are so good that I actually am blown away on it. I go and I'm playing with the dev links right now. And when I start asking it questions, the type of question prompts that it gives are so good. I'm like, these are questions that I might not even think to ask till I arrive in the lobby and my wife is yelling at me because why didn't you ask this, right? These are the types of like, it's predicting the right questions. It's so cool. So
And within that, in terms of prediction, you did mention GDPR and California compliance, and that is an important topic that I know IT directors are always asking about. Is somebody comes in, they ask a question, then they leave. They haven't necessarily bought anything or opted in yet. Just because they left and didn't buy anything doesn't mean they're not still a customer. They're still potentially buying. They need to wait a little bit, particularly if it's a 4,000 euro a night
Yeah.
stay. It's even though it's ultra luxury, they still need time to think about it. But how do you manage those levels of compliance when dealing with the data that is not directly attributable to an express opt-in?
It's hard. The first sort of step of that, right, is integration with the cookie management tools and consent tools like OneTrust. So we have full integrations with, the OneTrusts of the world that basically control from a compliance perspective and ensure that that the behavior and the tracking is personalized based on the preferences that that customer has chosen. And then from an overall data compliance perspective, it's ensuring that, we're using different availability and regions of both Azure and Amazon Web Services to make sure that European data is staying on European Union servers, right? And it's, from a global perspective, we have a really phenomenal third party partner. His name is Rich. He's a partner at a law firm that we work with out of Charlotte, who is Hall Booth and Smith, and they do an amazing job guiding us and reviewing all of our DPAs, our data privacy agreements, how we operate in terms of auditing and making sure that we are hitting all of those boxes from a compliance perspective. So compliance is one thing, and we rely a lot on Rich's team for that. We also have an in-house security team led by a former CIA station chief in cyber for over 20 years. So from a cybersecurity perspective, which is very adjacent to that, everything we do has to be as secure and buttoned up as possible too. So we really do invest in our internal resources and external resources too, partners to collaborate with to make sure that we're doing everything we need to be doing.
Yeah, I mean, you're creating a more frictionless experience for the user of the hotel, so that way they don't need to worry about where the data is at rest and how it's encrypted or on European servers and all the actual legal side of that. They can just focus on hoteling and ensuring that people that are paying 4,000 euros a night are getting the best possible guest service that is expected for that price.
That's exactly right. That's
Yeah.
exactly right. And that's the other funny thing that comes up in the industry a lot. I'm sure you hear it too, right? Especially with the larger organizations. They're
Yep.
like, should we build or should we buy? And a lot of the times, to your point, right? A lot of these organizations are like, all right, let's try to build it. And then they realize we're a hotel company. Let's let the let, let's stop this, and let's actually work with a technology company to build technology for a hotel. I mean, over the years, I've had many, many examples of partners that have tried to build things themselves that, have sort of eggs on their face, so to speak, that then end up coming to AZDS to have us build solutions for them. Because at the end of the day, I don't know how to run a hotel. From an operations perspective, it would be a very poorly run hotel if I did that. But I do know how to sell and build technology that improves the online experience for hospitality. And so I think it makes a lot of sense, right, to leverage true professionals like us that have expertise in that space. And then think about from a data perspective, right? So like we've been talking about data privacy, but think about with the volume that we are transacting with, we're actually using that data to better our user experience, right? So we're constantly analyzing user behavior and video recordings, using AI to analyze video recordings of users on the booking engine and where they're getting stuck, where they're dropping off, how they're interacting with it so that we can better our products and better our new solutions like RevRaise X. So it's analyzing all of that to be able to use it. And we actually have a platform from our data and business intelligence team called RevRaise Insights. It comes with every RevRaise book engine. So part of the platform is access to Insights, and Insights is our benchmarking tool, right? So we have a proprietary, pretty impressive data lake that we've built in Snowflake that's connected into GA4 and all the Meta platforms and Google and everything else, so that we can create beautiful dashboards for our hoteliers to be able to see their own performance of not just the booking engine, but the website as a whole. And then they can actually benchmark against what I mentioned, it's huge volume. It's $4.5 billion a year worth of actual transactions. They can benchmark against the total global luxury set, but they can also benchmark metrics like look to book, or organic growth, or traffic growth, or booking window, right? Lead time, or most commonly shopped dates, all the different things that hoteliers have access to that data, but they don't really know what does good look like? Like, how do you define good? So we allow them to be able to do that with insights and make strategic revenue management and distribution related decisions on data that doesn't just come from ideas and other great platforms out there, but actually what's happening on their website compared to other websites for similar luxury hotels. And it's very unique because it's cleansed, right? So from a data privacy perspective, it's not like you can't be like, oh, I want to compare against these 6 hotels, right? Le Bristol in Paris, and, Amman, Yara, et cetera. Like, you can't do that, but we have sets, right? Like, we have US mountain, we have European mountain, we have US beach, and you can compare against those and look at it. And we have our index, which is what those are, and you can compare, what you look like against index. We also have we've created this really impressive forward-looking modeling. So the forward-looking modeling is, we call them summary graphs, right? Where you can actually look forward. So at this point in time, how do you compare to the last 4 years in terms of bookings for May, June, July, August? So, like, are we behind or where we were in one of those years? It's forward-looking modeling instead of just always looking at consumption.
Yeah.
Historic, yeah. So
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, forward-looking pacing intelligence it's huge, right? And it's a tool that every revenue director wants or is frustratingly stitching together with Excel files in various ways, right? And putting it all into an intelligence dashboard is can just allow for more intelligent decision makings. And also, where we're heading with all this, I guess, is personalized pricing according to who you deem your best fit guests are. And so, we've covered RevRaise Insights, RevRaise X, the soon to launch all-in-one GUI, or booking flow. And where is this going? Where is Book Direct going to create this holistic, AI driven, personalized experience digitally to help drive more heads and beds and more ADR and RevPAR and all those beautiful things?
yeah, no, it's a great question. I actually, to be honest with you, I thought last year at High Tech, so, last June, I thought that we would be further ahead in terms of booking directly through the AI, the LLMs. Like, I thought that booking would be further completed in terms of integration. Always knew MCP wasn't the solution, but I thought that we would be further in terms of being able to actually book through Claude and ChatGPT, and we're very far away. We're just as far as we were last June. Because yes, there's the Expedia and Booking.com partnerships, but they're really just almost like ads, right? And then you click on it, it links you out to Expedia or Booking.com. So I think that this hybrid flow that we've built with RevRaise X, this model, right, I think is going to be here for a little while. It's adding and creating larger overall shopping basket size, right, within hospitality. And then I think ultimately it will become a world where the majority of guests are going to be booking through the AI assistant of their choice, whether that be ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. We have time, but I do think it's getting there where those itineraries will be fully bookable. They're going to have to figure out connectivity. It's going to take time. It's super complicated. And I actually would argue even outside of the industry, one thing that I think we do a really good job of at AZDS is that a lot of hospitality focused digital agencies, not to say anything negative about competitors. We have a lot of great competitors that are really strong against us and have great services. But a lot of the times, right, they're looking at travel and tourism for their inspiration. Like, number one rule at AZDS is don't look at travel and tourism as your benchmarks for a new website build, for example, right? Look at who does it really well. So in luxury for us, that's brands like Miu Miu and Balmain and Loewe and Louis Vuitton. And we look at all of these luxury retailers, right? Because they are so much further ahead in terms of overall UI and how they build and how they shopping cart and all of that. We look at automotive, we look at Tesla, we look at Lucid, we look at all these different brands that we think are doing a really good job. And then we come back to travel, right? Because travel, if you just look at travel first, you're going to look like every other travel website, which we don't want to do. We're a travel solution. So that's why we spend the time to really look outside the industry. And my point being that what ChatGPT is doing right now and what Claude is doing right now is they have to actually really figure out their entire commerce model, right? Because actually, from even a retail perspective, ChatGPT right now is not very good, right? Like when you go on to any of these AI engines to buy clothing or buy a product or whatever, they haven't figured that out yet. That's next, right? So once they start figuring out the entire commerce model, I truly believe that they will fit travel into that commerce model. And that's the right way to think about it. It like brings us back full circle to the beginning of our podcast where I was talking to you about why hospitality has this bizarre obsession with website and then you go shop somewhere else. If from the very beginning, right, there are architecting with these AI companies the ability to actually have a commerce model and travel fits into the commerce model, that's exactly what they should be doing. And so I think that's where the future is going to be headed, is that the commerce models are going to get better and built around these, ChatGPTs, Gemini, Claudes, etc. And then travel's going to fit inside of that. And that's the direction we're headed. So.
I've always seen the LLM travel search as having a very similar problem to the OTAs, or a challenge as the OTAs, which is everything looks the same. It's the same UI. There's no emotion that sits above it. And emotion is really generated through video and images. And there still is something to be said about a beautiful website with a great underlying UI flow underneath that, in terms of really getting people to feel the brand, and then also feel the value for that ADR, to then get them towards the finish line of converting into a booking with lots of ancillary attached to it. So,
especially with luxury, right? I
yeah,
mean, that's how you differentiate a 4,000 euro a night hotel from another 4,000 euro a night hotel.
yeah, but expanding that out into travel is, how do you get someone to go to Costa Rica versus Panama?
Totally. Yeah, and then I think the other way that I frame that up when I'm talking to, DMOs and CVBs and other folks that we work with too, right, is that um, people want to book a trip, and a trip includes getting there, the flight, includes a rental car, includes the hotel, includes the activities, includes dining, like all of these things. These are just components of a trip at a destination level, right? Uh, we, over the years, have told people that to book a trip, you first got to go to united.com or delta.com, right? And check if there's flights. Then you got to go check if the hotel's available, right? That you want to stay at, or do some research to figure it out. Then you go do the rental car, right? And then you go back to the hotel website and book the fractured spa, or you pick up the phone or you email them. So that's what we're trying to this can be done both at a hotel level, as I was talking about with RevRaise X. But if we go up one above that, right, I think that my ultimate goal, and when I think that we'll have established sort of the holy grail, so to speak, right, is when we can actually do this for a destination. And we're in discussions with all sorts of countries, DMOs, states, all different markets, to figure out how we can achieve this and how we might be able to make a solution that is, one above what I just talked about with RevRaise X. That's super exciting for us. So
Yeah, I mean, there's so much that goes into trip planning and trip booking, flight, the logistics, and then the other word you didn't mention is insurance, which
yeah, and insurance.
very important for especially the luxury traveler, but also a boomer-led economy. A big trend that's coming up is going to be what happens when the average boomer is 80 years old, and insurance premiums for traveling medical or otherwise, just go through the roof. So
Totally.
the trend that's related to that, you could say, is the growth of luxury cruises and all these yachting experiences. That's their
100%.
market because it removes that friction.
100%. And it's the everything. It takes care of everything for you, right? You just book the cruise and and everything is part of it, and you know where you're staying, and you're getting to amazing destinations without having to go through really busy airports and all of that, right? And the food is exceptional. And if we go back to what you said, right? Everybody wants the bigger basket. They all want a larger average order value. Well, you get that with cruise versus hotel. That's why you see
Oh
Orient
yeah.
Express there. That's why you see Aman there, Four Seasons Yacht, Ritz Carlton.
Yeah.
Everybody's getting into this space because it's the best possible customer, right? It's somebody that's spending, instead of 2 or 3 nights with you, they're spending 4 to 7 or longer. Everything is included, so the average price point is so much higher. So
Yeah, but even then, one step higher, the destination-led conversational commerce is then ties into the pre and post
totally,
for where people are embarking and disembarking for those ports of call.
100%,
Yeah, so
hundred
there's
percent.
huge opportunities just layering things in, all built around that single GUI and adding additional pieces in to go from a hotel booking to a total revenue booking and now to a trip booking as a platform. So one other element to this is for a hotel website is something I call the digital storefront, which is the merger of front end website and back end. So we talked about how you're able to remember information compliantly, where somebody enters, they book a room, they maybe look at some ancillaries, but then they don't. Then they come back into the booking engine, and it's giving them more personalized offers around what they previously viewed. So it's creating that lensing, it's removing decision fatigue, all that stuff. The next step also would be, how can you merge the front end website, whichever CMS it's built on, and the booking engine, so that way, from the moment they book that room, then log off, then they come back 2 weeks later and they're ready to book those ancillaries, whatever they looked at before, now they're getting for example, golf led website experience versus a hotel website experience that's trying to sell them rooms. It's already engineered to get them to across the finish line for what we know about that guest.
Absolutely. And we do have partners, right, with the right CRM and CDP connectivity to be able to do that, right? So that we can personalize the entire website experience and not just the RevRaise overlay that comes out, right? So basically, if we, like you mentioned, it could be family travel, or it could be couples, and it's showing and leading all the content with it. The gaps we see today, right, are there's partners of ours that do it really well. Then there's partners, right, that just don't have the content to get it done. So that's
Yeah.
the other core piece, right? AI is making that a lot easier, though, right? Generative AI, you can begin to do without necessarily that whole new photo shoot. You can actually be able to create and modify pictures, as well as content on the page, video, things like that. So it's getting
Wow.
there.
Yeah, it's getting there. It's just a matter of how much development money you have to throw at it, right?
That's it.
Yeah.
That's it.
So Adam, we've covered a ton of ground, and this is very exciting time for creating that experience through the direct website and really driving total revenue, not just for luxury and ultra luxury, but really any experiential property at any level, boutique, eco lodge, whatever niche you want to operate in. There is a way to personalize and deliver something incredible and really meet those technologies that are coming out head on. What other trends are you seeing, technology related or just travel in general? And how is AZDS pivoting to meet them?
Yeah. So I'd say the biggest one you hear about, it's almost taboo, but it is what everybody's talking about, is experiential travel. So wellness related trips, once in a lifetime experiences. We're working a lot around that with things that relate to full booking, right? Destination level booking. And that allows you to integrate into into the overall funnel. The other thing we're seeing a ton of is very like off the beaten path. So in addition to experiential and once in a lifetime and wellness focused trips, it's like lodge experiences, right? Where everything is included. So it's like all inclusive travel, but done really high level. And I think it's interesting, right? Because what's having a moment right now from a trend perspective, from what we're seeing, one of our newer partners is Beckons, right? Which is the brought together Bailey Lodges and Tierra Hotels under one umbrella with KSL Capital Partners. And the team there is doing an incredible job. And we're working with them on building the new experience for that. But it's those like, 7 to 25 room unbelievable lodges in incredible places in New Zealand and Australia and Patagonia that have just, and it's all, it's included, right? Everything's included, but we're seeing that take off, right? You see it with our partners, Niagara Hospitality in Costa Rica and other destinations that are like these really incredible, but also sustainable destinations for people to go to. So that's what we're seeing really light up right now. So
Yeah. I mean, that is the future of travel. I've always said that it's hard to deliver personalization when you sort of get above 100 to 150 rooms, because all that means is that you have your head count is so high that the guest is not having that second, third, fourth encounter with the same person, which is the lifeblood. And then a lot of these exclusive experiences are just, they're too hard to get tour operators around to really do that in remote locations like Patagonia or
exactly.
the Uluru in the exact middle of Australia, where I believe Bailey Lodge has a location.
Yeah, they
Um,
do.
so,
Absolutely.
that really means that it's so well curated from that, 5 to, let's say, 50 range of ultra luxury, whether lodge or resort, etc. So
Yeah,
there's so much growth there, and it really does require the teams to still be nimble, and to have great technology to underpin that. Because imagine you show up, Patagonia, and you've been looking forward to that $10,000 horseback riding trip through a glacial mountain range, and they've already sold out for that day because there's
exactly.
only 6 horses, and you're the people who decided not to book, to wait till last minute. So,
That's
or
exactly right.
can't get a helicopter to then be helicoptered up and do a whiskey tasting on top of a glacier where they're just chipping the ice straight out.
That's
Those incredible things.
That's exactly right. It's
Yeah,
that's actually an amazing experience. The glacier whiskey. I did it in Alaska at an incredible lodge called Alaska Sportsman's Lodge, which does this. Brian Kraft, the owner of that lodge, does an unbelievable job of creating that personalized experience. Every night you come back into the lodge at dinner, and everybody from the day is talking about the fish they caught and what they did during the
yeah,
day, the glacier flight, all these things, right? And the guides come out and they're talking about what we're going to do tomorrow, right? And that kind of personalized experience is just it's dialed. Another thing we're seeing too is sports, especially tennis, golf, things like that, Formula One. But it's having a major resurgence, and you can see just sports tourism and getting people to particular places around big sporting events, and then the extension of their stay dates before and after. And that's why you're seeing, especially in the Middle East, right, with Saudi Arabia having such a big focus on bringing, everything into the kingdom, because it then to attract people to come and stay longer and spend money and so forth. So,
yeah. Their strategy is incredibly smart. Um, Yeah, I mean, related to sports tourism around specific events, there's also, I guess, athleisure escapes where I know you jog my memory because I believe you mentioned Amanyara,
yep,
the
in
one in the
Turks.
Dominican, and I believe that's the one where Djokovic now has his tennis
Yes,
residency, right?
you're
So,
exactly right.
yeah, so imagine going back to what you do in terms of getting people to book. Imagine you're going to that resort specifically to have some FaceTime with Djokovic, but he's already booked the entire time that you
It's
get
the
there
theme,
because,
right?
you didn't bother to book far enough advance or get in that single flow.
That's exactly right. See, it's the
Yeah,
theme of our whole conversation today. It keeps coming up.
yeah. So, I love what you're doing. It's incredible. I hope that this conversation has inspired hoteliers to really think about the depth of that their partners can bring to all that intelligence and all that all those additional automations that can be brought on to really drive total revenue, which is then going to drive guest satisfaction, more bookings, and just create that great business cycle. And at the end of the day, deliver great experiences.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%.
Adam, thank you so much for coming on the show. It's been fantastic.
Of course, been a great chat. I'm honored to be the first Adam. Hopefully, we don't
Yeah.
have another Adam coming up next week, so I can hold the title for a little while, hold the torch.
Yeah, you will. You will. I'll make sure of that.
Thank you, Adam. Appreciate the
Okay.
time.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to the Gain Momentum podcast. To stay up to date, make sure to follow or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. For more information about Gain Advisors, head to gainadvisors.com.